Good morning. This is Norma Cowie with a Sunday Thought. This week, my Sunday thought is about disappointment. You may wonder, why am I having a Sunday thought on disappointment? At some point or other in our lives, we feel, create, and are disappointed. Many people, though, do not understand how come we get to be disappointed. As I was exploring this topic many years ago, what I began to realize is that we have expectations of life. We expect, and our expectations, in a sense, kind of grow up here somewhere. Here we are. Well, this is going to happen. That's going to happen. We go here. We'll go there. But the reality is, our expectation is not based in reality. Now, this is not expectation is not goal setting. Goal setting is something very different. But expectation, we often will live in an expectation of a desired result. But when the expectation is not based in reality, what happens is that reality begins to crash. I should say our expectation crashes into reality. And then we're left feeling disappointed and hurt or upset or whatever and however else we're going to do that. So how do we deal with disappointment when it happens? What I discovered for myself and then for my clients and students is this. One of the things is we'll work like have goal setting, so we know what we're going to have in relation to goals and things like that, which is a whole different concept. It's not just based on an expectation of something going to happen. But what we need to do when we have expectations is that we need to accept what actually is. Now, acceptance is something I do talk about quite often because I have found over the years it is probably the hardest thing as we as individuals have to deal with or face or embrace, whichever way you want to call that, to accept what is. This is exactly what it is. When we accept what is, we're free to make a decision on how we want to deal with it. So disappointment can be fleeting. It can be here. It can either knock us down kind of in our feeling that that's it. Oh my goodness, my world is over. What am I going to do? Well, actually, we don't usually think, what am I going to do? We just get sad, depressed, feel upset, and kind of feel like life has let us down often. Like this doesn't work, because often we have thoughts of how that expectations can be is goal. We've created a goal. We have an expectation. We know this is going to happen. Unfortunately, this happens a lot in beginning relationships, when relationships are beginning. And before we know all the ins and outs of the other person's personality or what their expectations are, etc. So we can often get a lot of expectation there. And then we find that all of a sudden it's a dream, you might say. Our thought, our desire, our feeling is all kind of lost up into something that is not really real. And so then our expectation crashes into the reality. And then we have to deal with that. Unfortunately, what I find is many people do not deal with it. They do not accept what the reality is, because we humans want what we want. Very often we're not prepared to accept what isn't what we want. And so this whole element of wanting what we want can sometimes really keep us in that place where we just don't really feel happy or contented, or where we're kind of wanting the next thing to happen, or this happen and that happen. And then again, not ever looking at what the reality is. What is the reality we're working with? And what do we personally have to do to change it so that it can look and be and work in the way that we want? So my thought today is about disappointment, yes, but it's really about looking at what reality is we are accepting, and accepting it so that we don't have to be disappointed. We can still strive for what we want, even though the facts and figures may not seem to be working exactly the way that we want them to. So my thought this week is for you to take a look at, do you have any disappointments? What? And are you really looking at, is it up in the air here for the expectation? I have an expectation of this. And I think a lot of us live with a lot of expectations. And then when they don't come, when they're not fulfilled and they crash into reality, then we get really sad and upset. We can get angry. We can frustrated, whatever. But we haven't accepted that really we weren't looking at what the reality is. If we look at the reality, accept it, we can free to decide what we want to do about it, if anything. Sometimes we can't do anything about it. It is as it is. But it's fun to look at those things and to look at your life, to see what happened in different periods of your life when you allowed an expectation that crashed into the reality, how that affected what happened next. What decisions did you make? What did you do as you went off into a different direction, or you made a decision, about relationships or about work or about whatever, something that didn't come through, rather than accept the reality and then do what you got to do to get you to where you want to go. No matter what, how many disappointments you've had or not had, just know that you can enjoy life. You can have a great time. You can deal with whatever is there by accepting, looking at the reality, and making sure that you decide what is best for you so that life continues on in a joyous manner. Have a good week. Blessings.